Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Ubon Udofia and I'll be using this webinar to teach any beginner how to perform motivational interview under 12 minutes. Yes, I said 12 minutes. Now, I'm really passionate about this topic because motivational interview, MI, is an important skill and it's necessary if you're an aspiring therapist or healthcare provider or even a parent and you're considering motivating someone to change behavior. For example, you want someone to let go of some bad behaviors or even to engage in treatment. I will start by defining motivational interview, MI. I'll talk on the benefits of learning or mastering MI. I'll talk about the challenges with MI. Then I'll discuss my favorite part, goal-focused motivational interview, and then I'll conclude. So let's define MI. Now, this is an interview that acknowledges that the client is the expert, the VIP, and this interview focuses on creating a motivation towards them changing a particular behavior. Now, this is done through using a skill that identifies hidden reasons or mindsets that is preventing them from making that decision to change and addressing this mindset that is keeping them from making that decision to change. All right. Now, some of the core skills that is necessary for successfully exploring and resolving this ambivalence include being able to ask open-ended questions, that is, questions that avoid yes no answers, being able to affirm, then being able to create a validating environment in the interview, being able to listen reflectively and summarize. All right. Now, other principles that would help navigate exploring and resolving ambivalence include being able to express empathy, being able to avoid arguments, being able to roll with resistance that may show up, develop discrepancy, and support self-efficacy. Now, I know you're asking, how will a beginner be able to learn all these skills in 12 minutes? Let's go on. So if you can successfully master motivational interview, some of the benefits that will accrue to you is that patients are motivated to change these problematic behaviors. They're also motivated to enter into treatment and remain in treatment, right? There also would be enhanced therapeutic alliance and the relationship between the patient or the individual and you. Now, this person would feel responsible for their decision. So there's this logic that adults don't like to listen to what people tell them, but they're more likely to make decisions based on what they tell themselves. So the individual feels responsible for the decision-making process. So any issue or mindset that borders around ambivalence is addressed. The challenges with MI is in the learning process. Now, issues that a person may face while attempting to learn MI would involve the MI principles. It's easy to express empathy, to learn to express empathy or resist the urge to continue arguing, even when the person is on the defensive. Now, empathy and resisting urge to argue may be personality characteristics. You might just be the argumentative type or difficult to see life from the other person's perspective. So it might be difficult to learn these skills. Also, individuals have their unique problems. And then to explore and address ambivalence is different between different patients or different individuals. So how would you know how to go about this easily? Mastery can take years, and there's not enough time to teach and even to learn with regards to the overwhelming patient to doctor ratio. How will you create time to train beginners? Now, to learn MI easily, you have to have had previous training in psychology. What percentage of healthcare providers have training in basic psychology? Or even as a caregiver, a mother, father, do you have training in psychology? So learning MI the conventional way will be a difficult or a Herculean task for you. So this is my favorite part, the 10-step template for the goal-focused MI for beginners. Let's jump in. You start the interview by creating a rapport. In a rapport, you would first introduce yourself before you request to know more about the other person. Tell the person your name, maybe what you enjoy doing. Okay, let the person see that the person who is interviewing him is also a human being and has the same challenges. In getting to know more about the person, you want to know their hobbies, their personal goals, and then their value systems. These three aspects form the basis for creating discrepancies, and creating discrepancies handles or addresses any form of ambivalence. Let's jump in. For hobbies, what you would want to know is this. For hobbies, the therapist would ask, I would like to know you better as a person. Knowing you better as a person would help with appreciating you and understanding you better. So, what do you enjoy doing for fun? Do you like TV? Maybe it's TV, sports, or karaoke. In listing his fun activities, it should relate to the patient's gender or perceived socioeconomic class. Now, for the goals, you want to know what their plans are for the next 6 months. So the therapist would ask, all right, what are your plans for the next 6 months? Plans like maybe travel plans, business plans, school, or marriage. I put here, give a smile. If you're asking about marriage, it tends to create positive rapport. People react towards marriage plans emotionally. So you will definitely get some connection at this point. The next part is to inquire about your values. Knowing a person's values, knowing what is important to that person will help a great deal by establishing rapport and give the person a sense that this therapist has respect for me. Now, you would navigate this by administering the value living questionnaire at this point. Now, after you have created rapport and the patient perceives that you have a sense of respect for them and you might be similar in one or two ways, you are now moving to the third approach or the third aspect. You want to acknowledge that some people use drugs to deal with negative aspects of life and make their life feel better. How will you go about this? Now, I would like us to talk briefly about something that's popular in Nigeria, even Calabar. I use Calabar here because this is the Calabar Drug Treatment Center. You could use Abuja or even Kaduna. So, I want us to briefly talk about something that is popular in Nigeria, Abuja. And I mean drug use. Now, people use drugs to make certain aspects of their lives feel better. Maybe it gives them good appetite, it makes them relate better with others, or even party or socialize better. Now, if you had any reason to want to use drugs, what will it be? Don't wait for an answer. At this point, you are bringing out the benefits and interesting experiences checklist. This is a checklist that looks at the benefits that most drug users gain from using drugs and the disadvantage that they experience or the not so good thing that they experience from using drugs. Now, this applies to substance abuse. If this was any other behavior, you will have gotten a list of the benefits that people get from the behavior you're trying to change. So you go online, browse the benefits that people get from engaging in such a behavior, then also get the not so good experiences that they encounter when they engage in this maladaptive behavior. So the patient would now he's ticking these checklists. All right. After he's done ticking, he now has a menu, an idea of, okay, this is what I've experienced. Okay, it's brought to their awareness. Moving to step number 5, you're encouraging them to write specific positive things that they like about drug use or about the behavior that you're trying to change. You write it. You now move to the next one. Write down the very specific, not so good things that they have encountered when they use drugs or when they engaged in the particular behavior. Now, you would ensure that you discourage ambiguity or write it in short phrases. If it says, well, the drug use makes me feel down as a not so good experience, it's not very clear. Not feeling down might mean that, okay, it makes me depressed when I use drugs. Or it could mean that when I use drugs, I fall down. So you want to be very specific on this. Now, being specific helps with internalizing these reasons, these positive things, these not so good things. So you want them to internalize them. After number 6, you want to know about personal concern. Okay, this not so good things, does it bother you? Does your feeling down after using drugs, is it a concern to you? He says yes. Okay, why does it bother you? All right. Thereafter, you now proceed to summarizing number 5 and then number 6. So you would say, so you're telling me that for the good things you like about drugs, it helps me sleep, it helps me party well. Okay, for the not so good things is that you lose money from the drugs. You lost 5,000 naira yesterday, and then it makes you sleep in the gutter. So you are summarizing all of this. Now, this is the point that we are creating the discrepancies. We are addressing any ambivalence. The initial aspect was to create a rapport to ease to the process of number 7, where we are currently creating the discrepancies. Number 1, looking back. Where you are now is where you thought you would be 15 years ago. Where did you see yourself 15 years ago? You listen for a response. Whatever response he gives, you move on. What has kept you and is still keeping you from getting to where you saw yourself? Listen for a response. Now, if you're not using the first approach in the looking back modality, you would use this. What is important to you? This may be in line with his goals or his value system. What is important to you? Listen for a response. Whatever response you get, you ask him, what is keeping you or has kept you from getting there? Move to the next part, looking forward. Looking forward. Now, what do you want for yourself in 6 months' time and in the next 2 years? You listen. Will this current path take you there? All right. Now, the last aspect of creating a discrepancy, looking inward. How do you describe yourself and how do your friends describe you when you use and when you do not use drugs? This is specific for drug using behavior that you want to create discrepancy of. Now, the logic is this, that patients would listen to their friends. So if their friends and the friends know when a drug user is having problems with drugs, they would have told him at what point, guy, reduce the level of drugs you're taking. You are like a monster. You get very aggressive when you take 2 grams of crack. Okay, so the friends will identify verbally at one point in their lives when they're together what he is when he uses drugs. So you are now asking him to verbally describe, preferably to document description of how does he see himself when he uses and when he does not use, and how do his friends describe him when he uses and when he does not use. This can also be applied to other behaviors. How do your friends describe you when you act this way, when you do this, and when you don't do this? Now, the last part is self-decision. Now, the decision to change a behavior rests on the patient or the individual, not you. You cannot make a decision for the person. You cannot advise the person on what you know. Remember that the person or the patient is the VIP, is the king of the interview. So you don't make decisions for kings. So you ask him, so regarding drug use or the behavior in question, what have you decided to do? All right. Whatever answer he gives, document it down. Number 9, it's important to offer help at this point. Now we have identified that he's not meeting his needs. tell the patient that there is help. I can offer you help with achieving your goal. Now, who doesn't want a program that helps them achieve their personal goals? So you give them a detail of the program, focus on the aspect that will help them achieve their goals, and ask if they are willing to participate in the program. Now, whatever the answer is, ensure that you score another appointment date. Suggest to the patient that you would like him to commit to a future appointment date where his goals would be discussed and very clear path to achieving his goals, or even promise of support to this patient. You want them to be part of the next interview. You want them to be available or to commit verbally to another interview. You want them to hear them say, yes, I would come. Verbally committing gives a higher chance of making oneself available. Now, when they come, you can now introduce them to the aspect of the treatment program that involves goal setting, problem solving, or even mindfulness training, distress tolerance, or emotional regulation. Now, remember that this is the DBT model we're using, or whatever model that is used in your own facility or any other way, but it's important that they commit to another appointment. So we have come to the end. Now, nobody likes to change. To change is difficult. Learning MI the conventional way, learning to be empathic, learning not to argue, learning to create discrepancies can be very complex, and it would mean that you are changing different aspects of your personality attributes. It's hard. Now, if this is hard for you, imagine what it would be asking a patient or a person to change, not only asking them but criticizing them on their behaviors. It can be very tasking, okay? And especially when it comes to highly stigmatized behavior like drug use. Now, with GFMI, the goal focus MI, the need to learn to avoid arguments as well as roll with resistance is not necessary, because the GFMI template does not even give room for the therapist to criticize the patient, to make accusations, or even to provide unsolicited advice. So the learning process for the GFMI involves using these guides during each interview. And so the rate of achieving a positive behavioral outcome is higher, and losing patients from treatment is lower. Feel free to drop questions, leave comments. Thank you.